Hey, we are talking about how to stop feeling lonely this holiday season. And if you've heard my story, you know that for me, loneliness and consciously surrendering to that loneliness was really for me a pivotal, life-changing moment in my journey of healing. So if you are struggling with loneliness, what you first need to recognize is this loneliness is really a symptom of unmet abandonment issues, unresolved childhood trauma. Really, what is really happening for you is that you don't feel lovable, you don't feel worthy, you don't feel like you matter. And so the loneliness is the surface symptom that comes out. And I see this particularly with people pleasers, right? You're all the time trying to fill the void with people and prove your worth to others. And so and once you have that divorce, what gets exposed is that wound of rejection, not being good enough, not feeling worthy enough, not feeling lovable. So the loneliness really is just a symptom of something deeper. So if you look at it that way and you look at it as like, what is it that I'm needing? What is coming up for me underneath this loneliness? What am I really feeling? So that's number one. And then the second thing that I'm going to share with you is what to do around toxic people. Because here's the thing, don't let your loneliness drive you to toxic people. This is the time of the year when your loneliness might be greater than ever. I get it. And one of those reasons is that the messages that we're constantly being bombarded with right now is traditions and family and being together and doing things like we've always done, right? All those traditions. And there's a cognitive dissonance within us because we're trying to create a new life, a new way of being, a new definition of family. And so what ends up happening is it becomes very confusing for us, and it becomes we feel like we're failing our kids, failing ourselves. And so give yourself a lot of radical self-compassion right now through the holidays. That's a big thing because you don't have to define who you are based on, the messages that you're receiving. And so the other thing is to be aware of your loneliness might drive you, and some of these messages that you're getting might drive you to want to be around or feel like you're forced to be around toxic family members, toxic people this holiday. You don't owe anything to anyone. No. So don't allow that loneliness to drive you. That's the same as being hungry and eating contaminated food or spoiled food. That's not how we feed ourselves. That's not how you nourish your emotional health right now. So what do you do? Okay, so what do you do, T? So the thing is, you've got to give yourself what it is that you're needing. Okay, so there is that radical self compassion, that radical self love, that radical self acceptance that you're looking outward and you're trying to fill that void. So you've got to continue, it's a process. You've got to continuously do that to yourself. And then understand and give yourself permission. Like I said earlier, you don't owe anyone anything. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them your time. You don't owe them your energy. You only owe yourself anything, and that is to put yourself first. So if you feel called to be around toxic people, really think on that, right? Really contemplate that. Is that really what you want? And if you can't avoid it, set up some parameters, okay? Set up some parameters for yourself. The first thing is set an intention. I think that is so key, really, to being happy and healthy is to live intentionally. There's nothing that I do in my life that I'm not intentional about. So you've got to live intentionally. And so setting an intention before you have to go somewhere, and be around toxic family members or, whatever, that's really, the key. What is my intention? My intention is to present myself with dignity and to respond in a way that's healthy and put up some boundaries, like, okay. And then also put some parameters around your time. Be very forthcoming. Oh, I can only come for appetizers. I can only drop by for an hour. It's okay to limit your exposure. Again, you don't owe anything to anyone. Okay. And just keep telling yourself that. The only one that I need to account for is me, right? And put yourself first. And if they feel like guilt tripping you, then go watch my other videos on guilt and boundaries. Like, please, because hopefully that stuff won't work on you anymore. You know that you are deserving of your time, your energy. No one else deserves that. They can't guilt you into that. Only you can guilt yourself into that. So you're going to stop doing that, right? Okay, so put some parameters around that, limiting exposure. Have some canned responses, have some rehearsed responses if people tend to ask you intrusive questions. You don't owe them anything. So you can just say, oh, I'm not discussing that tonight. Just come up with some very good rehearsed phrases that you can just, can come from kindness, it can come from love and loving yourself, right? Having parameters is not selfish. It is the most loving act you can do for you and for others, really. Being honest with yourself and being honest with others is a very loving act. So remember that as well. All right, so if you are struggling with loneliness, you want more support, you want more help with this, I'm actually have a free resource for you where we deep dive into how to stop feeling lonely, how to heal those abandonment wounds and those feelings of rejection and people pleasing. Just reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it. All right, we'll see you soon.